my name is Sarah and this is my service dog Bailey. And today we're just going to chat a little bit about what it's like to have a service animal in a dorm in college and what you can expect and be prepared for. And so the first thing I want to say is you should, before anything else, talk to your disability services and your residence life and housing and see what requirements they have for you to bring your service animal into the dorms. By the Fair Housing Act, they are allowed to ask for certain paperwork, like, for example, my school asks for a doctor's note stating that you need it as an accommodation, and then also spay and neuter and shot records. So they do that for other students' safety and, to make sure that it is an accommodation and it's not just, anyone bringing an animal into the building. And so definitely work with your disability services and your residence life. And also work with them about what the rules are. Different universities or colleges will have different rules based on their prior experience or what they've seen other schools do. So some of the rules at my school are that, like, emotional support animals are not allowed in public spaces and only in someone's room, or that you're not allowed to bathe your service animal in, the showers or the facilities here. Things like that. And every school is going to have different rules, and so you want to make sure that you are completely aware of what is expected of you so that you don't break any rules and that you don't get in trouble for things that you didn't know about. So educate yourself and work with the appropriate people and departments to get that accommodation approved. Definitely talk to your roommate and see if they are okay with it. They can't stop you from having an accommodation, but you definitely want your roommate to be on board with it, and if not, either get a new roommate or switch to a single. I know a lot of people with service animals in college prefer to live in a single instead of with a roommate, and sometimes that's up to the school and sometimes that's up to your personal discretion. But if you do have a roommate, make sure you're communicating with them that there will be an animal living in the room, because that's basically like adding another being to your room. So you want to make sure that they know what to expect. Like in any relationship, communication is key with your roommate, so the best way to avoid conflict about this later down the road is to be very upfront about what it's going to be like living with you and your service animal. You should also definitely talk to your RA, your floor members, and some friends and set expectations about what it's going to be like to have a service animal living with you. You want to be sure that they're aware of the laws and the rules to protect you in case anyone else wants to bring their pet family dog into the building or something like that. You want to make sure that they know the rules so that you and your service animal stay safe, but you also want them to know how important it is for your service animal to continue to be able to focus and protect you and keep you safe. You also want to set expectations about if there will be any time that your service animal will be allowed to be pet by others. That is a personal choice for every team. Sometimes living in a dorm, people will come bug you during finals to be able to pet your service animal, and if that's not something you want, then setting the expectation from the beginning is a good way to make sure people know that the service animal is individually trained for you and they are there for you, so they shouldn't be distracted, things like that. It's also important to have people you trust, because while you can stick up for yourself all day, sometimes it just really helps to have people on your side, and having people educated about what the rules and the laws are and how service animals should be treated. That's going to back you up. When you're sticking up for yourself, someone else is going to stick up for you, and you know what, they might stick up for another handler someday. So educating the people around you is really important. Definitely be prepared for loud noises at all hours of the night. You never know when someone's going to be running up and down the hallway or screaming or doing whatever loud activity, whether it be during the day or while you're trying to sleep. Your service animal should be prepared to be startled a little bit sometimes, but while it's understandable to be startled, you don't want them to become a disturbance by barking incessantly because they hear people in the hallway. That's just a fact of life of living in a dorm. So definitely be prepared for that. Also, you want to be prepared for a college schedule. It's really hard to predict sometimes what your schedule is going to be like ahead of time, but if you can get an idea of, I will have most of my classes in the morning and mostly free afternoons, or if you have a lot of labs, labs sometimes are 4 or 5. I've heard of people having 6-hour labs. How will you take care of your service animal during that time? Will you bring them to your super long classes? Will you only bring them to short classes or no classes at all? Definitely get an idea of what your schedule as a team will be like. It's different for everybody. Some people are out of their room from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m., doing things, going to class, going to the library, studying. And if that's how you work, then you might want to bring, their dinner with you when you leave for class in the morning. Or if you won't be bringing them to certain classes or certain activities, then will you be returning to feed them and take them out? Or will you have a set schedule where a very close friend does that for you? Things like that. You want to know that your college schedule isn't going to be bad for you or your service animal, or make you go back on any training or anything like that. Taking care of your pup also means setting a schedule for your pup. So that means setting regular meal times, regular play times, even regular potty times if needed, to help you stay on a schedule. And I find that's really helpful because most colleges have something like Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes and Thursday, Tuesday classes. And so if you have a regular schedule, you know that they will always go at noon, or they will always go right when they wake up and like once in the afternoon or something like that. You want to know what their schedule is so that you're never caught off guard, and you can be sure that they're getting what they need and they're not uncomfortable while they're helping you. It's also important that you have some form of transportation. Some people bring their car while living in the dorm, so some people don't. And so if you don't, you want to make sure that when you need to get food, if it can't be delivered right to your dorm, or when you need to go to the vet, or if anything happens, that you're going to be able to, transport yourself and your service animal. So whether that means working with a close friend, making sure that Ubers in your area will, take your service animal, making sure there's a bus, you just want to make sure that you're going to be able to get where you need to go when you need to go. And so have a ride prepared if you're living on campus. Building off of that, you also want to make sure that you have a local vet. A lot of people don't go to school really close to where they live, and a lot of people do. So if you go to school close to where you live, you might be able to keep your vet. But if you're like me and you go across the country to go to school, you're going to want to have a local vet and a vet back home. So we have an emergency vet that we only see when I get worried or if there's something going on. But we sent them our vet records when we knew we were moving out here, and so they're always prepped. There's never a whole lot of paperwork when we go in. We can just go in when needed. So definitely do some research and figure out someone in your area that's going to be good. If they're in walking distance, that's even better if you don't have a car, but if your animal isn't able to walk or they're sick or something, make sure you also have a ride available, as I mentioned before. You also want to plan for all kinds of emergencies, including if something happens to you. So if something happens to you and say you are in the hospital and unable to take care of your service animal, is there someone you can trust? Sometimes this takes a little bit of time to build up friendships for people that you can trust, but hospitals, if you are unable to take care of your service animal, the hospital staff is not responsible for that. So you would have to either have someone else come to take care of them or leave your service animal at home. And so it's important for you to know, is your family going to take them? Is a close friend going to take them? this is not to say that you are definitely going to end up in the hospital or something like that, but you always want to be prepared, because like having an emergency vet nearby for your service animal, if something happens to you, you also want to make sure that they're taken care of. So you could board them, you could have them stay with a friend, or you could have them stay with family, but you want to be prepped for those things before you have to figure them out. So those are my tips for living in a dorm with a service animal. It's a little bit different to get accustomed to, especially if you're used to living in a house. But the biggest things I could say is communicate with your community, let them know what your expectations are and how they should be treating your service animal, because you want to nip those things in the bud right away. And set a schedule for you and your service animal, because it will help you better keep track of your own health, but it also helps you pick up things if they're off with your service animal earlier, or just help them have a happier life. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you subscribe and tune into our future videos, and let me know in the comments down below if you have any ideas for future videos. Thanks, bye.